I mean, are we really surprised? Jalen Carter lived up to the hype on his very first NFL snap. While Nolan Smith had his welcome to the NFL moment, Tanner McKee is clearly the most accurate quarterback outside of Jalen Hurts, Eli Ricks shined in a very crowded cornerback room, and Sidney Brown was literally everywhere. So let's get into it. But first, let's run it. What's up, guys? All right, well, the Birds wrapped up their first preseason action against the Baltimore Ravens, and fortunately for this one better, the Ravens continued their 23-game unbeaten streak, knocking off the Eagles 20-19. I can't even imagine if I wake up with an extra 90 grand in my account, but congrats to them and the Ravens for keeping up the meaningless record. Although the cool part is that real football is back, with Philly showing up to M&T Bank Stadium and getting in some stretching and warm-ups before it was quickly announced the starters wouldn't be playing, which I'm in favor of, especially the way that head coach Nick Sirianni plans on treating the upcoming joint practices.
We're going to treat these joint practices like games, right? That's in 2 days.
As most of us know from past years, the joint practices are definitely exciting to get a really good test of certain players and what we might expect. Yet it was a bit surprising to see D'Andre Swift warm up before the game and then eventually get some work on the first drive next to Marcus Mariota, doing exactly what we expected from Agent Zero. I mean, come on, are you kidding me? The elusiveness with the juke, and then finishing the 22-yard runoff with power, leaving most of us, I think, in the same boat as Lord Brunson when he said, all right, we know Swift's legit, time to take him out. Thankfully, the Birds heeded or headed that advice and Agent Zero's quick night of work was over. However, despite the recent reports of the starters not playing or some members indicating rest for Kenny Gainwell means he's the clear RB1, Sirianni had a different message in his post-game presser.
I always like those guys getting tackled, so the first time they don't get tackled is in the game one. So, next game, Boston or Kenny will get a couple carries like Swift did today, and the next game, the other one will get a couple carries. So it was just DeAndre's turn tonight to do it. That's what went into that. That's my philosophy with the backs. And sometimes, that's my philosophy now, but that doesn't mean I'm locked into that. So next year, if you say something to me like, hey, you told me to do this in the back, we'll see.
All right, obviously Sirianni left room for an exception there, but like I've said multiple times, this is going to be a running back by committee approach. So regardless of whoever the starter is, there's going to be ample opportunity. But how about you guys? How are you feeling seeing Agent Zero for the first time? I loved it, and I was also really hyped to see Rashaad Penny go since he hadn't played in nearly 10 months. But that didn't seem to affect him much, with the 27-year-old showcasing his speed and power midway through the second quarter, breaking a few tackles for a run of about 10 yards. Penny ended with 9 carries for 34 yards, and I thought he looked pretty good. However, there were some Twitter critics out there who felt Trey Sermon, who accounted for the lone offensive touchdown, actually outplayed Penny, leaving the Eagles with a very interesting roster decision.
You're crazy!
I don't know, man. Sure, Sermon looked solid, but to say he looked better than Penny feels like a stretch. Of course, it's a really small sample size, but who do you think looked better, Penny or Sermon? I also should point out that Penny did come up limping after his final run, which looked like he was favoring his ankle that got rolled up on. I couldn't find any tweet from any media member referencing it afterwards, so maybe it wasn't that big of a deal, which would be great because there's so much potential for Penny behind this O-line, yet already getting nicked up is brutal. Speaking of potential, I think it's fair to say one of the most anticipated players we all wanted to see was Jalen Carter. However, it was kind of odd that Philly had 3 starting Georgia defenders with Jordan Davis, Nolan Smith, and Keely Ringo all out there, but Jalen Carter didn't start. No matter though, as the Breadman got in on the first third down play, quickly discarding Ben Cleveland, forcing Josh Johnson to throw the ball away, and sending Twitter into a frenzy. Sure, technically it wasn't a sack or anything like that, but the pure strength to be able to move Cleveland that effortlessly is ridiculous. And yet, as surprised as some people were to hear about the impact JC had on his very first play in the NFL, Carter wasn't surprised, saying after the game he knew his first NFL snap was going to be a pass play, and he had studied tape on Ben Cleveland before the game, then executed a quick rip from the 3 technique before getting in the quarterback's face. The 22-year-old said it was an emotional moment and he's ready for more action after 2 snaps versus Baltimore. How awesome is that? Not only did Jalen make a play, but here you have a rookie who's watching film on a backup guard to be prepared for whatever action he got in a preseason game. It was maybe a little curious we only saw the rook in there for one more play after that, except Sirianni admitted there's big plans ahead for more action.
He's going to be in, a lot in these games in a couple days. Obviously, he's going to play a lot during the joint practices, and we'll see where he is if what we're going to do next week. He's working hard every day, and he's had some really nice plays. He's very talented. He still has yet to make a play in the NFL. So he's just got to put his head down and work. But he's put some nice practices back to back, actually. So, he's just got to put his head down and keep working.
It feels like JC's beginning to build momentum, especially with Sirianni referencing the several practices in a row where he's made an impression, and now he's doing something in a game. Plus, I think it's telling to have only played 2 snaps. The Birds realize Carter should be or will be playing very significant snaps soon. But like the head coach said, he's just got to keep working, and I definitely think that he will. But seriously, how great was it to see Jalen make his presence felt? I also love seeing tweets from other fan bases acknowledging the league messed up and Jalen Carter will be one of the biggest steals from the draft. Yeah, we already knew that. But another guy we finally got to see, and I also think will be a steal of the draft, is Nolan Smith. However, despite playing just about the entire first half, Smith struggled to get off blocks on a couple occasions while also losing contain on the edge on one play and allowing the Ravens' longest run of the night. It wasn't the best appearance for Nolan, although he did say he got his welcome to the NFL moment out of the way.
Running down on kickoff and coming free and thinking, man, I'm about to make a tackle. And then their returner, and I say, oh, man, I'm going to get my ass cursed out for this one, and I knew it. So, man, I say the return is real. They're a lot better than guys in college just because they got quick feet and they see you. And it's not like some guys just see you in college and take the hit. He saw me and he gave me a little juke, so, I wish I could have that one back.
Okay, you're not going to win them all, and sure, I wish Nolan had a much better showing for his first game, but it wasn't terrible. And the Rook eventually flashed that uncanny speed and athleticism on a pass rush, generating a QB hit. Ironically enough, the only 2 players with QB hits last night were Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith. Overall, I was happy with how the first rounders played, although I'm curious if there's anything I didn't mention here that you're concerned about. I know it's just one game. The more concerning element to me was the quarterback play from Marcus Mariota and Ian Book. Now, yes, technically you could say Mariota led the Eagles' QBs in completion percentage, going 7 for 11 for 58 yards. But like Jeff McClain said, the number 2 quarterback drove the Eagles into field goal range on both of his drives, yet it wasn't exactly pretty. Much like he's been in training camp, Mariota struggled with accuracy and feeling pressure, but he did run well. Yeah, that accuracy was a major issue to me. I know he only had 4 incompletions, but at least 3 of those were due to terrible overthrows and could have easily been completions. It really just speaks to the fact that the box score doesn't always tell the story, which is precisely the case for rookie quarterback Tanner McKee's performance, as he finished 10 for 20 with 148 yards, engineering an 8-play, 43-yard field goal drive on the first drive of his career, and then following that with an 11-play, 73-yard touchdown drive. And as NBC's Reuben Frank pointed out, I really like how vertical McKee was. He really drove the ball down the field, 27 and 18 yards to Tyree Cleveland, 33 yards to Johnny King, 19 to Jaden Hasselwood, and 31 yards to Joseph Ngata, and just looked very comfortable running the operation, which was not exactly a surprise according to Nick Sirianni.
First play he's in, he puts a back shoulder on I can't remember who it was. Was it Tyree? Tyree, perfectly placed ball, and then, we've been seeing that in practice. He's made a number of really nice throws like that. He makes good, just quick decisions, gets the ball, usually goes to the right place with the football, and is an accurate passer, and that's what we saw in college. I thought he did well. His stats might not look great. I don't know, what was he, 10 of 20? Like 140 some. He had some decent stats. You always want that completion percentage to be up a little bit, but I thought he did a lot of nice things and operated at a high level.
I agree, and I love to see McKee stretching the field and giving his receivers a chance to make a play. So it's not a shock seeing Jimmy Kempski already give the QB3 job to the Stanford product. I have no qualms with that, but what do you guys think? Are you ready to call it? Or maybe the better question is, does McKee have a legit chance at the QB2 spot?
Call it.
Sorry, that's probably not fair, but I am interested to see if McKee can keep this up and put pressure on Mariota, who left a lot to be desired with his throwing ability. At least he wasn't Ian Book, though. I think a lot of us would be happy if we never saw Ian Book play football for the Eagles again. All right, I know that's harsh, but you know it's bad when we're tweeting shocked emojis for a singular pass completion for a QB. Pretty sure we can close this book with Ian going 1 for 4 for -10 passing yards after giving up one of the worst sacks I've seen. As one fan noted, even for preseason Eagles quarterback standards, this dude is bad. Love how we go from a 3rd-string QB that gets the ball out in like a second to a 4th-stringer who plays like he's not even sure he's allowed to throw the ball.
You throw the ball?
It was definitely a little frustrating, but the O-line was also brutally bad at times, leaving Elliott Shore-Parks to call out Dennis Kelly specifically being not sure if he'll make the roster. Again, I'll say it's only one game, so that may be a bit dramatic. Yet Tyler Steen did impress for the most part, playing at both left tackle and right guard. And I'm telling you, that mean Steen name is catching on, absolutely demolishing a Ravens defender during a run play and leaving Reuben Frank saying, to see a 23-year-old rookie show the ability to learn 2 very different positions to the point where he can go out and look comfortable comfortable at both is unusual. For Steen to be able to handle both positions in his first NFL game is a really good sign. To be fair, there was also a play where Steen appeared to have a rookie moment being unsure of who to pick up during a blitz, but nothing awful and great to see him generating some buzz. One surprising player who generated buzz was wide receiver Tyree Cleveland, making some really impressive grabs on a nice throw from Tanner McKee, and also led the Eagles in receiving with 5 catches for 68 yards on a team-high 10 targets. Greg Ward also caught 5 balls on 5 targets for 53 yards before leaving the game with cramps, but he should be fine. Surprisingly, the one wideout we've been hearing a lot from camp, Joseph Ngata, didn't do much, catching 1 pass for 4 yards on only 3 targets. It's worth noting Ngata had a pretty good chance to snag a touchdown, but his feet were just out of bounds. Either way, it'll be interesting to see how this plays out because without question, Tyree Cleveland looked like the best and surest option among the wideouts. On the defensive side of the ball, we already knew Reed Blankenship and Nakobe Dean were pretty much locks, but that seemed to be officially confirmed with both players getting the night off. Unfortunately for Christian Ellis, despite starting and being in a good position a couple times, he failed to register a single tackle, while the other starter, Nicholas Morrow, made 4 tackles with 1 particularly impressive tackle for loss. None of the other linebackers seemed to gain any ground, and sadly, third-year player Sean Bradley suffered an Achilles injury, taking to Instagram not long after saying his season is done. I hate to see that for Bradley, a guy who plays with so much passion and energy, definitely sending our thoughts and prayers for a speedy recovery. It's also worth mentioning that UDFA linebacker Ben Van Sumeren did have the second most tackles, seemingly getting more reps with Sean Bradley out, but missed at least 1 or 2 in the second half. To me, the safety group was the most impressive on defense with tackles and big hits all over the place. Terrell Edmonds had a sack and a tackle for loss, Kayvon Wallace was really active with 5 tackles, and Justin Evans, who several media members pointed out has been barely noticeable at camp, had a couple big hits. And then even though it took until the second half before Sidney Brown was inserted into the lineup, he was flying all over the place. I mean, like seriously, the Rook was literally everywhere, accounting for a team-high 9 tackles and showcasing the crazy speed and athleticism all the beat writers have been talking about at camp. Those that watched the game already know, but if you didn't, it was like every single play Sidney Brown was near the football. Regardless of where it started out, he was there, leaving Jacob Sports' Mark Farzetta to say what a lot of us were probably thinking: this guy was out there playing like he'd been in the NFL for a couple years already. Yet as awesome as this dude played, he ain't getting carried away.
I'm still improving. I haven't done anything yet, so I got to prove myself in these preseason games and take it just week by week.
I love that approach. The whole hungry dogs run faster. And Brown also said the reason he plays so fast is because he never wants to miss an opportunity overthinking. He just gives it his all and leaves no regret. I think if I'm giving out a game ball on defense, I'd probably go Brown, but what about you guys? I guess I wouldn't argue with you if you wanted to give it to Eli Ricks, who without a doubt lived up to his nickname, Pick 6 Ricks, picking off Anthony Brown and returning it for 31 yards and a score, saying afterward he's glad the name still works in the NFL. And Ricks, who also entered in the second half, told Josh Tolentino that he spent the entire halftime studying film from the first half on his iPad, explaining how he noticed the Ravens tending to throw a ton towards the boundary, which aided him in jumping the route and intercepting Anthony Brown for the pick 6. Once again, just some more impressive mindset being showcased by the rookies, taking the time to analyze the game and being able to go out there and execute, which was great to see from Ricks because quite frankly, he has not had a great camp, but after being PFF's highest graded Eagles defender in coverage, will certainly help, playing 12 coverage snaps, getting 4 targets, allowing 1 reception with 1 pass breakup and 1 interception and a 0.0 passer rating allowed. Apparently good enough for some to already say welcome to the 53-man roster. I don't know, I'm not ready to go that far yet, but Ricks definitely isn't lacking confidence, tweeting, "Why didn't I keep my first game ball? I plan on getting many more interceptions in the NFL. I'm not worried." I think Ricks will begin to get some more snaps on the second team, especially with Greedy Williams playing poorly in Baltimore, although the cornerback room is so crowded, with Keely Ringo and Mario Goodrich making some plays. Yes, Ringo got beat badly early in the game, and as Jeff Kerr pointed out, looked absolutely lost, but a good learning experience for the Rook. And Mekhi Garner made a couple plays, as well as even forcing a fumble on a punt coverage. It's a great problem to have with all this depth, yet even after a strong performance, I feel like Ricks is still on the outside looking in. What do you guys think though? Do you agree or disagree? Moro Ojomo also shined and was noticeably disruptive in the interior, forcing the QB to scramble or roll out on multiple occasions. And nice to see him back up the quote from a couple days ago when he said, "I want to destroy people. At the end of the day, we play football for a reason. The mindset for every day is to compete and dominate." Gonna be really tough with how crowded the D-line room is as well, although he'll get some more chances in the upcoming joint practices with the Browns at 5 p.m. Eastern tomorrow and Tuesday, followed by an exhibition on Thursday. I love it and was so excited that we finally got a live look at this squad with much more competition coming in the next several days. This has been the Philly Special.